In fact, fundamentals have gotten stronger for some reason. Okay, actually, I wanted to show you this first. For some reason, we had a crazy 700,000 new address day for Bitcoin. Just look at this. You know, normally you get a lot of, new addresses, but man, we just had one where we added over 700,000 new addresses. So this is part of the fundamentals, okay? It's just awesome. Keeps on going up. And everything I've showed that measures that number of addresses holding not 0 Bitcoin, at least something, 0.1 Bitcoin, all-time high, 1 Bitcoin, all-time high, 10 Bitcoin, all-time high, right? So that's why I say fundamentals have never been better, because it's true. It's true. Why did we bounce back? Okay, why all of a sudden it looks so scary? I even talked about the FTX situation, right? And the death cross and everything else that's going on a global scale, macro scale. It looks so scary. Why did it bounce back? Well, quite simply, it was just oversold. That's it. From a technical standpoint, people are saying, well, look at this line showing this and this, and it's bounced back. I mean, quite honestly, that's how you explain it. When it gets very scary, that's usually a sign of a reversal, right? The phrase, buy when others are fearful and sell when others are greedy. I mean, that's where that comes from, right? Yesterday, it seemed like it was so doom and gloom all over, and it didn't make a whole lot of sense. And let's not forget, a lot of talk about ETFs. That talk did not go away. It's still being talked, and it's still going to happen. Bloomberg analyst says $150 billion coming to the Bitcoin market once BlackRock's ETF gets approved. That's only the beginning. That's only the beginning. But yeah, 150 billion injection into Bitcoin, that's going to make some moves for sure. Okay, so that is awesome, and they're not the only ones. We got 7 other players like Grayscale and Van Eyck and Invesco and everyone else that are jumping in as well, and Vanguard too, and they're huge too. Everyone is jumping into Bitcoin, right? Every single person. And you have another fund giant, Franklin Templeton, that is jumping in. They submitted their spot Bitcoin ETF application. They are a 1.4 trillion with a T asset manager. Okay, so now we got like 9 applications. Okay, and these guys are among the biggest on the planet. BlackRock, Fidelity, now you got Franklin Templeton, Invesco, Wisdom Tree, and it goes on and on and on, right? That's a huge list. And if you add it all up, they hold, okay, around 18 trillion assets. Now, it doesn't mean that 18 trillion is going to be flowing to Bitcoin, but think about it. If BlackRock, Fidelity, Franklin Templeton, these guys are holding trillions of assets, right? Think about the demand from their customers for Bitcoin spot ETF, which is why they submitted an application. We're talking about billions upon billions upon billions that'll be flowing into the space, right? So here's another one. Everyone is jumping in. And why do you think they're jumping in right now? Because they know this is the time. A spot Bitcoin ETF is going to get approved, and when one does, all of them will. All right, now, a lot of you guys may have noticed that we're in September. September is traditionally not a good month. But here's the thing. Isn't it amazing that today is already September 12th. Tomorrow's the 13th. That means half of this month is already over. Okay? Think about it. Half of it's over and we're still in the green. This is what I told you guys at the beginning of the month. Just because September has historically been a bad month doesn't mean that it will for sure be a bad month. Considering that we had a pretty bad August, right? And we had a bad July. So we may end up in the green for this month. And then look at what's next. October, historically, very, very, very green month. And we're like only 2 months away. It's amazing how fast time flies, right? We're about halfway through already. And so far, so good. And that's because there's just so much goodness. There's just so much goodness, and the fundamental of Bitcoin has never been better. If you care about lines, you care about technicals, this is what it's looking like. It's like a fractal pattern versus previous drawdown from 2018 all the way to 2020, right? It looks very similar on a smaller scale. But overall, we know Bitcoin has never been stronger, and more people are turning to Bitcoin. So that's why prominent executives, these are all big executives, predict Bitcoin could surpass 100,000 in 2024. It's not really a bold prediction anymore. People may make fun of my thumbnails when I put 100,000 or 180,000 or whatever in the thumbnail, but these are from prominent executives or financial analysts or economists that are now all making the same kind of prediction. They know what's up. They know Bitcoin is the only asset that we have that's disinflationary, that's become more scarce every single year, and more people and companies and institutions are jumping in. I mean, it's as simple as supply and demand. Demand keeps on dropping. No, supply keeps on dropping. Demand keeps going up. It's that simple. So in 2024, I've referred to it as the quadfecta year for Bitcoin. There will be so much going on. Can Bitcoin hit 100,000 in 2024? Yes. Yes. There's actually, I think, a very good chance that we break through our previous high by the end of the year, not at the beginning, by the end of the year. And yes, we can surpass 100,000 as we enter 2025. I think that's certainly a possibility. Okay, what is the quadfecta? Well, you have spot ETFs coming, not only for Bitcoin, but also for Ethereum now. Think about it, Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs, spot ETFs. You have the halving event, obviously, right? You have rate cuts, yes, that will happen in 2024, not only in the US, but in Europe too, and around the world. Okay, that will also affect things, and the presidential election. You look at it every single year, every single time we have a presidential election, that year is spectacular for markets. Spectacular. So that's also coming next year, right? We got 4 things, quadfecta of goodness that will definitely propel Bitcoin higher. Okay, that's why many people think 100,000 in 2024. That's nothing. That's nothing. What was the last prediction? The guy from I forgot his name. Tom Lee. Yeah, Tom Lee from Fundstrat said 180,000 by 2024. Right? And what was it? Tim Draper still thinks 250,000 by 2024 or 2025. Kathy Wood, she went out a little further to 2030, but she thinks it's 1.5 million in 2030. Well, why? Why 2030? Well, take a look at this. This is a pretty good look at the halving event and the many that will follow next year's. But, you know, when Bitcoin started, each 10 minutes, okay, whatever block was found, 50 Bitcoins was released. Okay, and then the one after that, in 2012, 4 years later, it went down to 25, okay, per block. Then 2016 went down to 12.5. Then it went to 6.25. That is where we are right now. Every 10 minutes, only 6.25 Bitcoins gets released. Starting next year, it gets cut to 3.125. Do you see this disinflationary nature of Bitcoin? Why it affects the price? Because it becomes twice as hard to get equal amount of Bitcoin every 4 years, set by code. And then let's skip a little bit further down, right? What about 2032, 36, 40, 44, 48, 52, 56? Look at it. Now you're starting to get sub 1 Bitcoin per block. In 2032, you're getting 0.781 only. Then in 2036, I know 2036 seems like it's forever, okay? But that's only in 13 years. In 13 years, Bitcoin will only be releasing 0.39 Bitcoin per block per 10 minutes. Satoshi, whoever he or they are, created Bitcoin because they're like, enough is enough. That's why Bitcoin was created in 2008, a month after the Lehman collapse, right? The white paper was published and the network was started. This was a direct response by the people, for the people, because at that time, how can you trust banks after what happened, right? After how every single one was over leveraged and about to collapse, and the only reason why they didn't go under was because they were all bailed out, right? But in the real world, if you're not a gigantic bank, you don't get bailed out. A lot of people lost everything. A lot of people lost their money and their businesses, their livelihood, their families. They lost everything, right? Only the banks won. No one else did. So that's why Bitcoin was actually created, right? Because Satoshi said, you know what? We need something better. We need something much better. We can't rely on these greedy banks. And you know what? Did the banks learn anything in the last 15 years? You figure they did, right? There must be more protection and they must be smarter about being too over leveraged, right?